Hey, thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to talk about the Kibbe body system, why it's really hard to use the test, and maybe some tricks and tips about how to make the test work a little bit better for you. So quickly, my ultimate goal with Kibbe is to build a capsule wardrobe that all works well together and all works well for me. But to do that, I need a strategy for shopping. I need to know what to look for, what will work, what won't work, and to really narrow down the shopping experience. If you're here, you're probably struggling with the Kibbe test, and I don't blame you because it's really hard. I struggle a lot with understanding A, what the questions are asking, and then B, really recognizing what my body looks like and if they fit those questions. But I have a few tips to help overcome those problems. The first one is to remember the big picture of Kibbe. It's really easy to focus in on each small feature of your body and each slight nuance between the answers in the test, but I find that just gets you really bogged down. I've been trying to take a more big picture approach. So what I find works for me is to remember the Kibbe test is based on a spectrum. It starts over here with very yang, very sharp, very angular, and ends over here with very yin, very soft and very round. If you don't know exactly where in this spectrum you fit, that's fine, so long as you just know which direction you lean towards more. For me, I found it much easier to take this big picture approach about each question than to really focus in on the nuances between A and B, B and C, C and D. I just found that really overwhelming. The second thing that I found really helpful is to take a picture of myself and then get a version of the test that had pictures and have them both up at the same time so I could really objectively look at my body and where it fit amongst the spectrum from yang to yin. So to showcase what I'm talking about, I'm going to go through the test with you. So there's a picture of the test question up here and there's a picture of me down here. And we're just going to talk about where I fit on the scale of yang to yin versus the overall A, B, C, D, or E. So for question 1, they have vertical line. And again, over here we have yang, we have sharp, we have angular, and over here we have yin, we have soft, we have round. So for vertical line, when we look at my body and the other pictures of the ladies there, I think I am more on that yang side of things. I have a little bit longer line, I don't look very petite. So I'm not going to focus on A, B, C, I'm just going to focus on yang. On question 2, it's the shape of your shoulders. So on my shoulders, it's kind of hard to see in the photo, but I have fairly sharp shoulders. I've got quite a few bones here. So that puts me more in the yang category. There's not a lot of roundness, it's mainly sharp. So again, I'm just gonna say that I have yang shoulders and not get too carried away with ABC. Next up is the length of your arms and legs. Again, when we look at my body and look at the example ladies here, I feel like I'm more on that yang side of things. My legs and arms don't look very petite, they don't look very short. So again, I'm gonna say I'm in the yang category, not focus on A or B. Next up, we've got the size of your hands and feet. My hands are fairly large, so again, in proportion to myself, I think they would be on the yang side of the spectrum. Those 4 questions together are your body structure, so the bones in your skeleton. From those 4 questions, we should be able to say, are you leaning more towards the yang side or more towards the yin side for the skeleton of your body? For me, I'm more towards yang. Again, don't really know A or B, but I do know I have a yang skeleton. The next set of questions are about the flesh on your body. So when we look at the overall shape of my body, you can see that my flesh is a little bit more leaning towards the yin side of things. I'm not exactly sure where on the yin side I would fit, but I do have more kind of hip and slight hourglass figure than the yang ladies over on the A or B side. So for the overall flesh of my body, I'm putting myself in the yin category. Whether it's C, D, or E, I'm not going to get caught up on, but I just know that I have yin for the overall shape of my body. Next is shape of your bust line. It's hard to tell in this photo, but I do have a more pronounced bust line. If I ever want to show some cleavage, I always can. And when I lose weight, I still have a decent amount of bust. So that puts me again more on the yin side. Whether I am D or E, Not really important right now, just that I have yin for the bust line. And then for waistline. So again, when you look at these ladies, my waistline is more similar to the ladies in the D and E category, so closer towards the yin. The yang have very straight waistlines, and I do have a slight hourglass. It's not Kim Kardashian by any means, but I do have a waistline that is smaller than my hips and smaller than my bust. So that's gonna put me on the yin side of things. So next up is hip line. When you look at this photo again, my hips are wider than my waist and they're wider than my bust. And when you look at the ladies that are all pictured here, that is more similar to the ladies on the D and E side, on the yin side. So for hips, I would also put myself in the yin category. Next up is the flesh on your upper arms and thighs. This one I find really challenging personally. When I look at it, I have a really hard time knowing exactly what the difference is between all those ladies. I have a hard time separating it from their potential weight. I don't know exactly what it's asking. I do know though that I carry any extra weight that I ever have in my upper thigh, and my upper thigh is fairly fleshy, so that makes me think that I am again more on the yin side. For this one though, I do struggle a little bit. And so that group of questions rounds out the flesh of your body. So we did the skeleton of your body and I had yang overall. That was the flesh of your body and I had yin overall. If you found that you had in one category collections of things, so you had 2 or 3 very yang things and 2 or 3 very yin things, that's okay. You don't have to have an overall answer for any one category. For the flesh, you could have 2 very yang features and 2 very yin features, and that's okay. You just need to know, am I a combination of yang and yin? Am I mostly yang? Am I mostly yin? Or am I mostly in the middle? That's the key thing we're looking for. So the next section is the bones in your face. Since it's about the face, I don't have a photo up because you can see my face. And this one is about your jawline. So when I look at my jawline here, it does come kind of to a point at the bottom. And when I look, I think my jaw looks most like the lady in picture A. I don't have a really round jaw like the lady in picture E. And so again, looking at angles versus roundness, I have more angles, so I'm going to say that my jawline is on the yang side of things. Next up is the shape of my nose. So you can see my nose here. I do think there is some sharpness to my nose. It's got a bit of an upturn there, and I don't have like a wide buttony nose. So again, because I think there's some sharpness and some angles there, I would say that it is closer towards yang. When I look at the photos, I think my nose is closer to A. But again, A or B or C doesn't really matter. It's just on the spectrum, I think it's closer to yang. And the final question in this category is the shape of cheekbones. So again, the answers range from more sharp to more rounded. It's hard in different light and things, but my cheekbones are more sharp, whether they're sharp or wide, A or B. Again, I don't really have a good eye for that. But I do think they are sharper than they are round, which again would put me in the yang category for that one. So overall, the bones of my face are in the yang category. Again, you could have a combination of half yang and half yin. That's completely fine. You could be closer to yin, or you could be somewhere in the middle. But we're just looking for these generalizations in terms of where on the spectrum you would belong. The final category is facial features. When I look at these ladies and their eyes, I think I'm leaning closer to B. My eyes are more narrow and they're wider set apart, which puts me in B, which again is yang. So if you can't really tell if you're A or B, if you're C or D, if you're D or E, that's okay. We're just picking for the spectrum. Again here with the shape of lips, I would put myself again in the yang category. My lips are wider and they're not as rounded and as full as some other ladies, especially these ladies here in the yin side of things. So again, I would give myself yang for my lips. For the flesh on my cheekbones, it's fairly tight. It's not very rounded. I don't have apple-y cheeks, I don't think. So again, that would be more on the yang because it's tighter, it's sharper versus rounder and softer. The last question of the test is actually hair, but I don't really understand that one because hair is so changeable that I don't know how it can really be a part of it. So I don't have any advice on the hair one. My advice would maybe be to skip that one and just focus on your bones and your flesh. because those are a little bit less changeable. Your hair can kind of just be whatever you want your hair to be. Okay, now that we've gone through the test, hopefully for each category, you know if you're more yang, more yin, right in the middle between the two, or a combination of yang and yin features. Hopefully you have a bit of knowledge about the Kibbe system as a whole. Knowing the general idea of each category will really help with the next step of this. So if you're very yang, that's a dramatic body type. So dramatics are over here with the hard yangs. If you're very yin, you are a romantic type. Romantics are very yin over here on the yin side. If you're in the dead center, you are a classic. And if you had a combination of some very yin and some very yang features, you are a gamine. Now you may be wondering, what about the naturals? Naturals are also very yang features. So they live over kind of with the dramatics, and the difference between the dramatics and the naturals is the width. To be perfectly honest, I can't see it very well, my own self. I can tell what's yang and I can tell what's yin, but I can't tell what's dramatic and what's natural. But for right now, that's gonna be okay. We're gonna just kind of power through. So that's the very general overview of where they are. But if you've kind of recognized, okay, most of my things were yang, or most of my things were yin, or most of my things were a combo, you can kind of tell if you're leaning more towards dramatic, more towards romantic, more towards gamine, or more towards classic. Knowing exactly which one isn't the point right at this moment. It's more just to narrow down to a very small subgroup that you could belong to. So for me, because my skeleton is yang, and my bones and my face are yang, that's gonna put me in the dramatic category. And because of how yang I felt they were, I can get rid of all the romantic classes, because my body's just too yang for that, all the gamines, because I just didn't have enough contrast to be a gamine, and all of the classics, because I wasn't very centered in most things. It was closer towards the hard yang than it was in the center. So now that I've gotten those taken away, my main categories that are left are the dramatics and their subcategories, and the naturals and their subcategories. What that means is there's dramatic and soft dramatic, and there is natural, flamboyant natural, and soft natural. The thing that sets me apart from being a full dramatic is that my flesh on my body was yin. And if you have very yin flesh, you can't be a full dramatic, because a full dramatic is yang across the board. So I can take full dramatic out of my choices. I also think I can take flamboyant natural away, because flamboyant natural is also yang in every category, but just broader bones with yang in every category. But because I have that yin flesh, flamboyant natural can go for me. So that has now left me with natural, soft natural, and soft dramatic. Again, because my flesh was fairly yin, for now I am going to say that natural isn't a good fit for me because it's not representative enough of my yin flesh. So I'm going to take natural out. So what I'm left with is soft dramatic or soft natural, both of which have yang skeletons with yin flesh. The difference between the two is the dramatics have a narrower silhouette and the naturals have a more broad silhouette. For my own self, I can't see the difference between those two. So I have to find other means of deciding, am I a soft dramatic or a soft natural? For you, maybe you've settled that you know you're a gamine, but you're not sure which gamine you are. Maybe you know that you're in yin, but you're not yin all the way. You know you can't be a full romantic because you have some yang. So maybe you're torn between a soft classic or a theatrical romantic. Whatever your selections are, we just want to narrow things down to 2 or 3 categories. Once you have your 2 or 3 categories, we're going to have to kind of tease out the nuances between those categories. That's going to be for another video because I just really can't fit it all in this one. But I hope this helped you at least narrow down to a small subset of categories. So if you are struggling and you went through this with me, leave me a comment below and let me know which subgroup you've kind of narrowed it down to, which 2 or 3 categories you think you are. And if you'd like to see the next one about how I tease out for me whether I'm soft dramatic or soft natural, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you'll know when that video comes out. Hopefully the techniques I apply you can then use to figure your own subcategories out and really dive into which category you truly are. So thanks for watching and have a great Friday, everyone. We'll see you again soon.